Let's now catch up with One Nation founder and leader Pauline Hanson. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. Do you think that Kevin Rudd can stay on in Washington? Is he any use to Australia there at the moment?
I tell you what, if Donald Trump actually ends up becoming President of the United States, he won't even open the door to the White House to Kevin Rudd. He won't have anything to do with him. And that's my impression I'm getting from it. So it's a hopeless where the Labor Party is going to stand if they leave Kevin Rudd in that position, because he won't have an audience with Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's obviously a disaster for them if Trump wins, and that's why you think you'd want to lay down the groundwork now and maybe shift him out and get someone else over there trying to build those links, because you want to be in a position where we're neutral, where it doesn't matter to us who wins the election. Australia still has a foot in the door. We shall see. Now, I wanted to get your thoughts, Pauline, on what the Nationals and the Greens are talking about. That is beefing up the ACCC powers to give them the power to force Coles and Woolies to divest of some assets if they're caught out and refuse to make changes when either gouging prices or shafting farmers. Do you think that this is worth looking at?
Look, what assets are they talking about, wanting them to divest? I've been talking about Coles and Woolies back in, 25 years ago, that they had 85% share of the market share at that time. I don't think it's as much as that now, but 85% at that time. And I was talking about the share that they have. They've allowed Woolies to expand into insurance and pet insurance and car insurance. And over the period of time, what they've done is they've given people the reason why they should go and shop there, but because of the point scheme. And what I've always been concerned about, if Woolies takes on more of the pharmaceutical lines, you know, what chemists do, or the news agents, we've allowed them to build to this extent and control. Then there's land banking that Coles and Woolies do. So they actually know where development's going to happen. They bought the land and then they've allowed them to move this far ahead. Look, Chris, we have to have this investigation, and yes, the price gouging, yes, what the farmers are paid for the produce to go into Woolies, that needs to be addressed. And it's the same as my dairy bill. You've got to pay the farmers a decent farm gate price for their produce, for their product, for the milk or whatever, and the government and the National Party knock that back. We've got to look after the farming sector, make sure they get a fair price for their produce, and don't allow Coles or Woolies to stand over the top of them. And in contracts, Chris, they've been offered 25 cents for a cauliflower, and then at the time they're only giving them 19 or 18 cents, and the farmer has to plough them into the ground. That should not be allowed.
Yeah, but this is all about giving the ACCC more muscle, heavier penalties to hold over the head of them to try and get them to play ball a little bit more easily.
Well, I agree with that. Yes, they do. I think they do need to do that.
All right, we'll have a look at see how that bill goes. I want to get you on electricity prices. Let's have a look at this question from Angie Bell, the LNP in Parliament today, focusing on electricity prices and South East Queensland.
In the last 2 years, electricity bills in South East Queensland have increased by up to $622. The minister repeatedly promised to cut prices by $275 a year, yet in South East Queensland, Labor has fallen short of its election commitment by up to $897. If the minister can't guarantee this reduction, will he admit that he was wrong and apologise to struggling Australian families?
Yeah, I said last night, Pauline, that on average, Labor is $1,000 a household behind where it promised to be on power prices. Is this really biting, in people's budgets, in their lifestyles, but also politically?
Definitely. Definitely. Yes, it is, Chris. As I've said all along, it's not just only households, but you're looking at businesses as well. So a lot of business, and I went to one business, and this was a few years ago, and the increased power prices was $200,000 a year. Now, they make springs, and they send to 55 countries around the world. They've put on $1 million worth of their own solar panels trying to cover their costs, but still their costs went up $200,000. That was about 3 or 4 years ago. I hate to imagine what it is now. And that company, I met them only last couple of months ago, they said they're considering now moving overseas. So we're losing a lot of industries and manufacturing to go into overseas countries because of the escalating power prices. I think it will hurt, but Chris Bowen, absolutely useless, doesn't know what he's doing. He needs to go. And they're on this trajectory that it's going to be our way, we're going to do it our way, you're going to suffer, but hopefully we think that down the track it'll get cheaper. It's a joke. It won't get cheaper. It won't get cheaper. Power prices keep going up.
It will not. We'll have an expert advice on that later in the program. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. I appreciate it. Pauline Hanson there live from Canberra.